Hello everyone, welcome to another process video behind the scenes in my creature making workshop here. So the first announcement that I have for you is that I'm going to be taking a little break because I'm getting married to a beautiful weaver lady. So this is going to be the last video like this for a while. I'll be back in July for more of these. The other piece of news is that I have a bunch of artwork in a show at the Ordoc called The Dark Side of Art Week. And in addition to just some artwork on the wall, which I've never done before. I've never been in an art show, actually. But in addition to that, I'm also going to have animations that are going to be projected onto the wall on June 27th at the reception. Miliki here, who we've been basing all of our behind-the-scenes stuff on, is going to be prominently featured. So you can see the final result of this, which is really exciting. So to pick up from where we left off last week, we had just connected the animation for opening these eyes to some sliders using the Joysticks'n'Sliders plugin. This week, I'm going to be using wiggle expressions and creating a twitching motion. The eyes are going to kind of like... So I'm going to show you how I'm going to rig all that up and give you a little crash course into expressions, which is one of the nerdiest and most technical but most fun parts of After Effects. So let's do it. So what I want to do is to make these eyes bug out, right? And I want them to be able to bug out individually. So I want to put in the expression into these sliders individually that will make them bug out. Now what an expression is inside of these sliders, so that number is determined by code and math that are all typed up into this box here. So whenever you open up the slider here, here's the expression coding. And when I pick whipped this up to there, it automatically generated this. So all this text right here, all that's saying is this. It's saying take this number from here. Okay? And then if I fold it down, this comp layer, blah, blah, blah. I mean, you can kind of see how it makes sense. What is actually what. I don't know it well enough to type most of it in from scratch. I know a few things, but they have a whole menu here that, you know, it's all there for you. It tells you what the code is. It's not like you have to have it memorized. So what I'm basically going to do is I'm going to type a different expression into this right eye. And you can see now, because that part is gone, it's no longer connected to the gang slider, which is fine for now. But I'm gonna demo this to you with it set to 100. So that right eye is open, and if I hold Alt and click on this stopwatch, I am going to type in what the effect is, and in this case, it's going to be wiggle. Wiggle is like the king of all these effects. So I'll just type in some numbers here. What this is, this 18 right here, the first number is the frequency, and the second number is the amplitude of the wiggle. So it's going to randomly, 18 times per second, wiggle this value, the 0 to 100 that determines how open the eye is. It'll wiggle it by 5 out of 100. Maybe I want more than that. Maybe let's say 30. Let's see what that looks like. Right, so he's bugging right out, which is awesome. And now, now we need to be able to control that, though, right? Because if it's just typed in there, it's just going to be going the whole time. So what I think I'm going to do is I'll need to create another slider, another pair of sliders up here in the this null that I made, eyes open gang. I'm going to rename this as just eyes open controller. And so that null is just going to contain some sliders that I use. I need to call this slider eyes open gang. So they're still pointing to this, and this is my slider that controls how open they are. But now I want to control what the wiggle controls are. So we're going to add a couple more sliders. This one's going to be frequency. This one is going to be amplitude. All right. So those are 0 and 0 right now. Now here's the really fun part is I can go into the where you type in the expression here, and this 18 which is what I had set as the frequency. I'll use this pick whip here to point to this slider in the frequency. So it added in some code, this layer, blah, 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 that, whatever, frequency. So basically, instead of the number 18, it's just a direction to take that number from the frequency slider. And I'll do the same thing with this number 30 here, which is the amplitude right now. And we'll pick that over to the amplitude there. So it looks really complicated when you just look at all these words and brackets and everything, but again, you don't have to memorize that. You don't have to know what it all means by sight. Eventually you get the hang of that too, but you kind of do it visually, which is why it really works for me. So now you can see there's no wiggle happening, but over here, if I just turn frequency up, still nothing happening because the amplitude is 0. But so it's 22 times per second. It's going to twitch by a factor of 47%. And that's pretty crazy, right? So that's good. That's what we want. Now that'll happen after this first blink. And so we will set a keyframe there, 22 and 47. And we will do some more keyframes and set this to 0. So now there's no twitching going on before this point here, and it will be all twitching going on after this. So you can see the twitching where at first it's not, now it is. Okay, now we also want it to still obey the opening up gang, right? So remember how I said that you don't actually have to memorize everything because this arrow shows you what it all is. So vector math is just, I just look at that as the category for just math, basic math, you could even just call it, instead of vector math. But so I want to use add because I want to add in, this value from the eyes open gang. So when that's 0, it's at 0. It'll be 0 plus whatever this twitch slider, the results of all that is. So it's the most basic operation here, vector math add, and you can see it's in parentheses. Vector 1 is the first number, vector 2 the second number. In this case, vector 1 is going to be the eyes open gang. Vector 2 is going to be the wiggle amount. So it'll just add those two together. And instead of clicking on this, that seems like it's going to get messy. I'm just going to remember what that is because it's so simple. So to type all that in, first of all, this number up here needs to be set to 0 because it's going to be 0 plus the wiggle plus the open gang slider. That's all the things that are being added together. So here we got add, parentheses, open, and close. So right now it's adding the wiggle with nothing really. Like there's this open line here that I'm leaving. Open that bracket there, close it here. Line 2 of the expressions is going to be the wiggle. Line 3 is going to be the open gang. So this little orange thing comes up when you have an error, and right now the error is that this code is telling you that, yeah, you need to have 2 arguments. So you need 2 things that you're adding together. So I'll just put the cursor on line 3 of the code and take the pick whip and point it at this slider, and it just enters that. The last piece of this is that we need to add a comma in between them, and I'll just put the comma on line 2 after the first one. And then I press enter. The warning goes away, and we can now see that the eye will open, it will blink, and then they will start to tweak out. Now I'm going to confess to you guys that I made an error the first time I did this, and it got really confusing, and I got there, but I don't want you to have to watch me troubleshooting. So I did the left eye while you were away, basically. So whatever is here in this this area in the slider there, you copy and you just plop that same exact text into there. So the left eye and the right eye, they both have this code, but they're each generating their own wiggle, and the wiggle is randomized, so they will be randomly vibrating within the same parameters. They'll have the same amplitude and the same frequency, but it's randomized. So, and then, you know, I'm going to add some of these wiggle effects, I think, to the tilt of the head and to things like that. So it's going to just be jerking all over the place and going crazy. And that'll be creepy and it'll be fun. And you're all going to get to see it when you go see my show at the Ordoc on the 27th of July. Because it's going to be projected onto something. Maybe a wall. Maybe a screen. We'll see. So that's it for now. Come see the show June 27th. And say farewell to me for a little while. I'll be back at it probably early August. If you're not already a patron, please consider becoming one. It really helps me free up time to do this kind of work and build up this world. And I really appreciate all you guys. So thanks a lot.